Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get started in just a few seconds. We want to give everyone enough time to dial into our webinar today. So sit tight and we'll get started in just a few minutes. Thank you. Welcome everyone to the Moxa ITS webinar series. Today we have our second webinar focused on 4 major network challenges. I'm Bonnie Russell and I'm going to be your moderator for today. So let's go to the first slide here. So we shared this last time as far as some of the common challenges facing customers. And our goal really with the ITS webinar series is to help address some of these challenges. For example, status and performance. Are there concerns about remote traffic assets? Or what about visibility and advance notice? Does your current remote site's network and equipment support it? Or there could be challenges around interconnectivity or interoperability. What network equipment and technologies are on your network? And can they handle the latest ATC or ATMS applications? And network security, which is becoming more and more important. Does your current network and equipment and software support it? Our experts today will be sharing not only what's happening in the market and trends, but also again, helping to address some of these challenges. For our webinar, we have about 25 minutes of content followed by a Q&A session. So I want to remind everybody, you can submit your questions using a Q&A button. You should see it at the bottom of your screens there. So again, you can submit your questions anytime during our session. Next, what I'd like to do is introduce our presenters for today. We have Michael Cochran, our ITS business manager, and Michael brings several years of experience as a sales and engineer at Moxa, as well as a background in wireless broadband. Joining Michael, we have Roger Yu, our business development manager, part of our industrial network infrastructure group. And Roger brings several years of experience in industrial automation, data communications, computing, as well as ITS applications. So we're very excited to have both of them with us today. And so let's go ahead and get started. Michael, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Bonnie. And hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the second of our 3 webinars that we're going to be doing. So the agenda for today, we're going to be talking about 4 major challenges that we commonly see when it comes to remote traffic asset network security and management. And it's connecting legacy devices, network complexity, and then there's definitely a skills gap that we are seeing as the technology is ramping up at an incredibly exponential rate, I will say. Then we're also going to talk a little bit about industrial cybersecurity. So just a little reminder, when it comes to ITS, Moxa offers a wide range of industrial networking, computing, and automation solutions to enable real-time traffic data acquisition. So we've done an awful lot of applications when it comes to ITS, including ATMS, E-bus. We've done a lot of tunnels, electronic toll collection, and other aspects of ITS as well. So we've done a lot of applications, and we have a very, very broad portfolio of products that fits well into that. Before we get started, I would like to quickly share with you something that we just recently completed. We just completed a case study regarding the city of Lancaster, California. This is an excellent story regarding ITS. Lancaster, California, they were on a smart city initiative. They wanted to be a technology ready and future ready city. And a big part of that getting ready for the smart city was to put in an improved communication upgrade. And Moxa is is that we are that communication infrastructure. So from edge to core, from trafic cabinet back to the TMC, this is an all Moxa solution, and we really relieved a lot of their pain points with this. And they're using our network management software, and it's really a terrific story. We even got a quote from the mayor of Lancaster, who threw us a little quote there. So that was great, and it's on our website. I would encourage all of you to please download it and check it out. Okay, and one of the reasons why we were such a good fit for that was because of our product portfolio. So we have network infrastructure products, which really makes up Ethernet switches, hardened Ethernet, managed switches. We've got edge switches, we've got core switches, we've got layer 2 and layer 3. And out in the trafic cabinets, you're going to see what we would call out on the edge, and then back towards the TMC, this would be more towards the core. So it all sort of starts with the Ethernet switches. But you might want to have maybe some layer 3 applications, or maybe a little bit more security in what we would call best practices. And we've got secure routers to fit those applications. And then when it comes to leveraging your existing infrastructure and getting that onto an IP network, we've also got media converters and Ethernet extenders, DSL technology to utilize that leveraging infrastructure of 2-wire twisted pair and get that onto an IP network. So that's the infrastructure products. On the device side, there's still a lot of serial equipment out there. We've got the serial device connectivity equipments with our N port serial to Ethernet. We've got I/O products that you can connect your sensors and your other I/O devices onto the Ethernet. And then, of course, industrial media converters of any type, whether it be serial, fiber, over to Ethernet. Okay, so again, the 4 topics we want to cover and these 4 major challenges are as follows. We're going to talk about connecting legacy devices. We're going to address a skills gap. And then we're going to talk about network complexity. And then we'll finish it off with industrial cybersecurity. So let's get started with connecting legacy devices. And I would like to turn it over to Roger Yu.
Thank you, Michael. Speaking about edge connectivity, we're talking about a lot of equipment, traffic access outside, no matter from controller, sensor, meter, or something like this. Here's some example about some legacy devices. We're talking about quite a few agencies across the country still using a legacy controller, 170 controller. They're zero-based. Why they insist on using that kind of equipment? Because the backend software is still trying to connect with a lot of quite a few serial equipment. That's why they have a hard time trying to update the new software or something like this, but that's no problem. We can take a look on the traditional way. And when they're having all this serial equipment, they're trying to running a serial cable all the way back to the TMC. Or that is, we know that the serial cable once a while, or they have a limitation with the distance, and after a year period, the correction of the serial cable. Now we can look into how to improve it, trying to put a device server over there and making a short distance of the serial cable and connect it to the device server, and trying to let the device server translate the serial protocol into TCP/IP, having the network switch connected together and put it back to the TMC. So in that case, the device server will provide a COM driver. So that means customer don't have to change the software at the back end, because the device server already having the COM port, allow them to mapping COM port again. So speaking about legacy, not only on the device level, talking about some infrastructure. Michael mentioned earlier, talking about some area may have like a legacy VDSL phone wire infrastructure already implemented. It may not be a right time, right moment trying to dig them out, putting a new fiber or something like this, or maybe we say we try to leverage the existing infrastructure doing the legwork, but somehow they're phone wire. So that is some equipment we call Ethernet extender. That is trying to translate the VDSL signal into the digital. So you can see from the screen, we have some product can helping doing that job, not only translate them into the protocol, but adding more Ethernet port, allow to utilize the equipment, having the infrastructure, media with addition new Ethernet-based equipment attached with the network. Some area about the legacy infrastructure, we're talking about some location may have like unstable power. From the like a slide, the diagram in front of us right now, we're talking about, for example, on the top diagram, if the second location having a power outage or something like this, then the rest of the like a location, they were losing all the communication. So from a management point of view, you couldn't see any more like information about the rest of the station. So this is one of the technology product we call fiber bypass. So when it happening, we say we put this fiber bypass in the second location and trying to see, hey, how it works. So if power outage coming in, so the equipment, the technology say, hey, we'll close the contact and make it like a media. Even though it doesn't have the power to support the equipment, it still transmit the data through the location 3 and 4 and 4 and 5 and so on. So how about some infrastructure? If they don't have like a existing like a landline or phone line or something like this, so we'll try to say recommend the 802.11 technology, helping them to like bridging the Wi-Fi signal from one intersection to the other intersection. Of course, it is Wi-Fi. It's like an open public network right now. So our recommendation: don't forget to put a router and try to using a firewall and VPN to protect your network over there. So this is all about like a legacy. We have all this kind of solution. Let's jump into the list and let Michael to look sharing with us about network complexity. Michael.
Excellent, Roger. Yes, thank you. Yeah, with regard to network complexity and connecting all those devices. So this is a real world example here. You see this map of the Coachella Valley in the Palm Springs area. And if you just look at everything, what we've got here is we've got 3 different agencies that are all trying to interconnect. So you've got different agencies, different operators, different technologies, and they want to interconnect and transmit to 3 different TMCs. So if you look at the legend here, you've got old fiber, you've got new fiber, you've got wireless, you've got different types of Wi-Fi that are being used out there. You're leveraging, 2-wire twisted pair, and you're trying to get this interconnected to the county, to the cities. So there's a lot of complexity going on here. You're trying to connect all the cabinets, all the devices, bring all of that video and data back to 3 different places, leveraging all these different technologies. So it starts to get quite complex, and this is not uncommon. This is something that we see quite a bit of. So let's take a little deeper look at that. So the things that you have to consider in a situation like this is you have to address 3 different layers. You have to address the access layer, which is all the devices that are connected out at the edge or out at the traffic cabinets. And as those get connected, all that data comes back into what we would call the aggregation layer. Now, this is a different type of technology knowledge you need to have, or skills that you need to have. And then all of that then comes back to the core layer, or what we would call the TMC. And Roger, let's look at that in a little bit bigger detail on the next slide here. So starting from over on the right, you look at the different things that need to be connected. You've got cameras, you've got wireless radios, you've got controllers, you've got conflict monitors, and it's being powered and used with gigabit switches and PoE switches. You've got VDSL technology, Ethernet extenders, media converters. You've got PoE switches with different power outputs. You've got secure routers and firewalls. You got a lot of different things going on that are leveraging a lot of different technology, trying to bring all that back to the different aggregation areas, and then ultimately all back to the 3 different TMCs, where you want to be able to manage it cohesively and be able to make sure that your network is in a secure situation, right? So there's a lot of challenges to this in this type of network complexity, for sure. And with that type of complexity and the rate that we are seeing the need for data communications accelerate in this industry, it is exposing a very obvious skills gap that exists that, 10 years ago probably didn't need to be thought much about. Roger, tell us about that.
Sure. Skills gap, we're talking about, is it really very important to understand the network, how we put the investment, putting in all these new traffic assets with different technology, different kind of like a data rate or something like this. We have to look into the skills gap about whether the existing equipment, the networking equipment, or the future consideration. You have to look into all the equipment, whether something is a support the skills gap over there. And whether the equipment, they have a high reliability, allow you to putting outside the like a roadside cabinet under that kind of a harsh environment, whether they can have like a long MTBF, we're talking about a life cycle to support you doing that job. Even though not only the hardware level, from software level, does the equipment, the existing equipment, do they have this kind of like a software protocol can allow you to manage all those like new advanced technology product or equipment, that kind of like a data management. Whether those equipment having like a interoperability capability to like associate with your backend network. Do they have all this kind of like a protocol trying to look into SNMP, trying to look into redundancy, having like a 24/7 like a uptime, something like this. Even though from management point of view, do they have all this like a management tool, like a web console, or get into like a CLI command line interface, or getting into some utility software can helping you improve your like management efficiency. Even though we're not only talking about the skills gap on the network equipment itself, whether those equipment, those software can helping you trying to do the like the network layout, to looking into how efficiency about the deployment, how efficiency to looking at those like traffic access, what kind of like data information you want to prioritize, or you want to segment them or something like this. Even though talking about whether the equipment and the software can helping you increase your visibility about what's going on outside. Are those like traffic access having an issue, or the network equipment having an issue? We have to aware some network equipment, whether they support like a kind of like a ring redundancy topology to support you doing like a 24/7 uptime. And we have to look into this. Or whether those equipment allow you doing like a remote PoE management. We understand today a lot of like intersection, not only about intersection, from highway or any ITS application. We increasing a lot of CCTV and trying to monitor the, like what kind of a traffic condition outside. But somehow some PoE equipment, when they working for a certain time of period, they're getting weak. The only way to let them to go back to the right performance, so you have to send people out trying to like reset the power and try to bring it back to like a good performance. But do we aware whether our existing equipment having this kind of software inside can allow you to doing like a remote power recycle? Then if you can having those kind of features, that means it will going to improve not only about cost or energy, that it will improve the safety as well, because we're saying, talking about sending people out trying to do this kind of job. But right now you can utilize that kind of software trying to do remote management. Or how about some software piece, whether the existing equipment or your future consideration, those kind of equipment, whether they have this kind of a software piece can helping you doing like a network management on the like a segment the thread network into different group, allow the different data getting back to different like a operator or TMC or something like this. Whether some software like a network address translation helping you doing the job to doing like an IP scheme management. We keep talking about right now ITS application is become more and more complicated. Why is saying that? Because a lot of new equipment keep adding over there, so a lot of IP address keep adding outside in the like a roadway, something like this. So even though we say the skills gap about, hey, whether the existing equipment or the future consideration equipment, they do have kind of like utility software can improve your like a device management, the configuration, the mass deployment, or even though talking about future upgrade on the firmware or patch upgrade, something like this. So by all means, not only the utility, hey, those software can helping you improve the visibility looking into the network management from outside, and not only about the like inventory you have outside, or how about the traffic data, issue, condition, something like this. Even though we're talking about security, are those equipment already set up a kind of a level of the security, allow you using this kind of software trying to do the security audit. So at this point, we're talking about security. I think this is the most important. We did the webinar last time to sharing about some information. Let me try to bring Michael again, our ITS cybersecurity specialist. Michael, you want to chat about this again?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. Thanks, Roger. And certainly a part of that skills gap would be security. And I can't imagine that too many traffic engineers or operators ever thought that, you know, they have to have some level of expertise when it comes to security in their traffic network. But it exists. And as we get more things connected, it's becoming a very big requirement in the traffic world. And the question is, you know, how much security do you need? Well, you know, we're talking about really wide area networks here. This could be, you got traffic cabinets, and you have got to be secure all the way back to the TMC. And these things could be 5 miles from each other, 2 miles from each other, 10 miles from each other. But those devices have got to be locked down. The gentleman sitting in the TMC that is controlling all of this and monitoring it and maintaining it remotely needs to have security, needs to have a secure network. So with IEC 62443, Moxa develops all of their products around this standard, IEC 62443. And what's really great about it is that it addresses security at the device level. And when we talk about the device level, we are talking about, controlling authentications and password complexities and encrypting data and things like that. And the equipment that we typically use for that would be a managed Ethernet switch. So that's the device level security. But now we also can address it with this standard at the network level. And when we talk about the network level, we're talking about things like VLANs, VPNs, you know, NAT and routing, just like you had mentioned. And the equipment that would be used for this would be an industrial secure router or some type of secure remote access device. And so this is great. We've got security at 2 different levels, but now we need to be able to manage it because this is a big area covering a big geography. So how do we do this and how do we do it easily? So it's security management level, we do it a couple different ways. So we have 2 different software tools, one that we call MXconfig, and this helps you config all of those devices and get things set up. And then when it comes to managing it and viewing it and auditing it, we have something called MXview, and that's our network management software. So let's go back down again to the devices. So these are just the things that you should be able to control. You should be able to control who can log into the device. You should be able to set up different user account levels. You should have control over the remote access interface management. You should be able to do increase your password complexity, just like you do when you've got like a bank account or a credit card account, and it's showing you whether your password is weak, strong, or medium, or something along those lines. It should have password complexity built into it as well. It also addresses things like a trusted access list so that you can control who can access the equipment based on their IP address when they do plug into it. Additionally, you should be able to encrypt data, encrypt configurations, and send that data to an event log and send it in an encrypted way. So that's a little bit to do on the device side. Now, what about more on the network side, Roger?
Yeah, absolutely. We think we're helping a lot of customers across the country. They have existing network they already built, but somehow it's missing those kind of security feature. So it's not end of the world. We think according to like last time Michael mentioned about the ICS search from the Homeland Security talking about, you can put a firewall in front of any like a network trying to do the security and trying to protect them. So definitely you can see the market. You can go to like a computer store to get a firewall product over there and put it outside to the roadside cabinet. Is it true? Is it will work or something like this? It's based on like your environment, whether it works or not. But over here, we're talking about our like industrial secure router. So this product will come with the firewall feature. The firewall feature come out all the whitelisting and trying to helping you to prevent any unauthorized traffic. That means somebody trying to having like a different IP address coming in, you can block them out. Or if you think your existing network, you're trying to using the like a LTE modem, for example, you're definitely using a public network. So you want to put this router over there, access this VPN and trying to build your virtual private tunnel and trying to encrypt all your data information back to the TMC. Or some feature we call NET, I mentioned earlier, you can try to using it, trying to segment the network into like a different group and increase the security, as well as trying to provide you the IP scheme management. Of course, this is a router. So if you're having a existing like intersection, you're trying to build like the hub in between, and trying to like using the hub to doing like a subnet management. So this is a small form factor layer 3 feature can help in you doing this job. Definitely, all this kind of feature, the most important, we're talking about security. So it has to be having this kind of a software piece to helping you to doing all this event management. If any intrusion, somebody trying to touching your network, they will trigger the SNMP track to send you the information about what's going on outside. So this is a very complicated. How about from configuration, Michael? So how we can achieve that?
Good question, Roger. And by the way, excellent on the best practices there for the network. So there's two different things we need to talk about here. First of all, getting all these devices configured. And so let's talk about, you know, those Ethernet switches, all those, you've got 200 trafic cabinets out there. So now you've got 200 switches to configure, and you got maybe 6 devices connected into each switch. That's a lot of devices you're configuring. So let's make this easy. Moxa has something called MXconfig, and this is a mass configuration utility. And one of the things that you can do, we have a feature in here called Security Wizard. You select the switches that you want to configure, you pull down to the wizard, and this is a quick 3-step setup, and it's based on these already built-in security profiles that come with IEC 62443. So select Security Wizard, and then next. You then pull down, you say, okay, based on these built-in security profiles, you're telling it here, I want to be set to the highest level, which is level 2. And when you do that, it shows you all of the different parameters that you need to have configured to be at that level based on this built-in profile. And then you hit next, and it is now showing you that, okay, the ones that are in green, you've already got those configured, but the ones that are in red, they're not configured yet, or at least not entirely. So let's highlight them and go to them, and let's get them to where they need to be so that you can be set to that highest level, level 2. And you just did all of this in about 10 minutes. So that's pretty impressive. So now you've got them all set. How do you check on that? Maybe once a week, once a day, once a month, you want to check in and confirm that your settings are where they need to be. So in MX View, which is our network management software, we have something called Security View. And what this does is you go down, you select Security View, and it goes out there and it checks every switch on the network. And it's comparing all those parameters to those built-in security profiles. And it's going to come back and it's going to color code those devices based on the profile level that they're set to. So in this case, the one that's green, this is set to the highest level. The one that's blue, this is set to medium. The one that's orange is basic, and so on and so on. And just to help you with a little bit of a reminder, over here on the right side, you see the different colors, and it's listing the parameters that are set when those colors are showing you. So it's really a great way to audit and remind you what is set and at what level. So an excellent tool. So let's review and summarize here. So Moxa puts a big emphasis on industrial reliability. We design our equipment for long life, redundant communications in very harsh environments. We also put a big focus on interoperability. We bridge that gap. We connect those legacy devices that were probably never designed to be on an IP network in the first place, but we give you the ability to do that. And we make it easy to use with our software tools, our GUI interface. This is not meant to be sophisticated command line effort. This is all easy to use GUI interfaces. And then we wrap all of this in cybersecurity protection, following the guidelines and requirements of IEC 62443. So with that, I'll say back to you, Bonnie.
All right, great. Thank you, Michael. So before we start our Q&A session, I just want to remind everybody regarding our third ITS webinar coming up on July 9th around remote asset management. So hopefully you can make this next webinar. So if you go to the next slide here, we're going to go ahead and start our Q&A session. All right, perfect. All right, Roger and Michael, let's take a look at what questions have been submitted. All right, first question. What is the IGMP used for in traffic network?
Let me try to answer this. IGMP is called Internet Grouping Management Protocol, mostly trying to manage the network multicast protocol. In ITS network or traffic network, the most application is the video camera. The video data is forming into unicast or multicast, but mostly a lot of manufacturers from the video camera, it will suggest a user trying to multicast because it will capture the data very quick and broadcast it out, multicast it out. So the IGMP is trying to grouping them back to routing them back to the right destination.
Excellent. Thank you, Roger. Okay, next question that came in. Does MXconfig offer plug and play edge hardware replacement capability?
Michael, let me answer this also. Right. I would say MXconfig is purely like a design for Moxa network equipment. We say, when you say plug and play, I'm trying to understand your question is kind of like, can we doing the job like a backup the configuration from the old equipment, you're trying to put a new replacement, and whether I can using this to deploy the configuration? The answer will be yes.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Okay, next question here. You mentioned Moxa offers serial device servers for legacy serial controller to network. Does it include security features that help ITS customers?
Michael, you want to try?
I certainly can. Yes, for sure. Our NPort 6000 has very, very advanced security built into it. It's got not only authentication protection, but it also has backend radius and TACACS authentication server support, and SSH, SSL for data encryption protection.
Great. Thank you, Michael.
Sure.
All right, we're gonna have one more question here. We're running a little bit on time, so let's take one more. What kind of wireless technology products does Moxa offer for ITS market?
Roger, I can take that one again. So,
Okay.
well, at this moment, Moxa, we offer two different open standard wireless technology products. We have 802.11 Wi-Fi based products, which, you know, A, B, G, N, and then we have also got cellular gateways utilizing LTE and 4G technology.
Great, awesome. Well, thank you. That wraps up our webinar for today. I want to let everybody know if we didn't get to your question, we're going to follow up with you individually. I want to thank our speakers, both Michael and Roger, and also our audience for joining us today. Hopefully you can join us for our next webinar on July 9th. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.